lived here all your life.
I was born right behind us.
Why stay in your neighborhood? What makes it so special to you?
Well, growing up, I grew up during segregation. I was born in 1946, and this neighborhood just was family oriented, good people, something not well educated, but a lot of wisdom, pride, you know. And as a young man, my family owned a grocery store, so I got to deliver groceries in the 80% of the homes, and just wonderful people. And then the history of Brickyard is we have a state rep, congressional rep from 1868 that lived at the end of this street. We had J.H. Augusta, who was an educator. My mother came to this area from New Orleans as an educator from Xavier to educate young black rural kids. And the neighborhood was made up of Miss Ethel Kimball, an educator, Mr. Linton, a plumber. Just Buck Hebert had one of the first antique shops I ever knew. His name was Rosenberg Buck Hebert. And he grew up, his shop was right over there, and people of all races would come. And I'd go there and just be amazed at the lessons I learned about old money and antiques and his wisdom. And just the neighborhood. This church was run by our first mayor's father, Mr. Reverend Adam Joseph, a gentleman. You never saw him without a suit and a tie. The era I came up in, Opelousas had a wealth of black entrepreneurs. My father had a grocery store. They had two other grocery stores in this neighborhood. But it was the people. And unfortunately, due to time and circumstance, now we in a neighborhood that has been a victim of what you call it, perpetual, I'm losing my train, but poorness, generation after generation. But to me, and I'm getting off the subject in a way about the neighborhood, but what changed was at some point, we, for some reason, underfunded education. When I went to school, 90% of us would graduate. This neighborhood produced people that are all over this country doing great things. And I'm hopeful that we're in the time that we're going to turn that back around. Because the people are still good people. They're just poor, and they've been poor through generations, which is another discussion for another day. But the neighborhood, I'm never leaving. I've been asked why you still stay in Brickyard. Because that's my home, I live behind us, and that's sort of like where I come home, and I feel like I'm at peace, So I'm gonna fight to see Brickyard come back to what it was, and the biggest thing is the youth, and you're in the news business, you know what's happening in Opelousas, and we have to change that. But it's not the people, it's the circumstances around. And it's become almost ingrained, which is the big fight we have in all our neighborhoods in Opelousas. Greenwood, Trash Pile, New Edition. They were all producing great, but due to economics and not able to get jobs and perpetual uneducation, and especially since we defunded education in San Antonio Parish. 21 mills here, the state average is 45. That tells you why we at the bottom and the ones that are at the top. And like I said, Brickyard to me is home. The people in them were the people that raised me, because back then, if I rode the bike too fast or did something wrong before I got back to my house, my mother knew about it. And they welcomed me. But, I could go in every home. I was invited in to eat, do whatever, play with my neighbors. I didn't know there was problems in the world growing up in Brickyard. It was just an atmosphere of fun, hard work. Now, I worked from the time I was 8 years old, pedaling that bike around the neighborhood, and I used to tell my grandkids, I told Marcy's kid, I used to cut the edge of the lawn with scissors, you know, and the mower was a push mower,
Yeah.
you know. So that's my story, you know, and like they say, I'm sticking to it. Brickyard is a wonderful place. Sometimes people will pass by and say, ooh, I don't want to go, but you know, it's good people that had bad luck.
Right.
But we have hope, and I think we are going to come back. I think we have leadership now in the city that cares, that really cares about the people. You know, Mayor Alcindor came from education, so he knows what's missing, but he's trying to restructure our cities, the infrastructure and other things, and Brickyard is part of that. And we're going to come back. You know,
Where did he get the name Brickyard?
there was a brick, as I understand, on Cherry Street, there was a place that made bricks.
Okay.
And the name, the Brickyard. You go, it's
Yeah.
back by the Brickyard.
Yeah.
So that's been what it's called in my 75 years.
Yeah.
So, and as I understand it, that's how it originated. My neighbor is 95 years old, and she remembers the Brickyard. I don't remember. There was also a sawmill in the neighborhood. So, and you know, besides Mr. Nash, one of the vice presidents from Walmart grew up right at the end of this street, of Gidry. His brother works for Nassau. You know, I can go through names of people. Hubert White went to Houston and became a great, you know, just the neighborhood created us. Now the neighborhood is kind of hopeless, but we're going to energize it to the point where it can come back to be what I grew up in. I just tell people, when I grew up in Opelousas, it was a great community, even with segregation. You know, that lot right there was football, and it wasn't about color, it was about, because across the street was Johnson's Grocery, Longclaw Grocery, so it was like, that was the white grocery, this was the black, but the kids came together and just had a good time. It's as you get older and get indoctrinated in some of the stupidity of the world, you know, we lose.
All right.
And I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, you didn't. You did a great job.
But I love this neighborhood and I love this community. So I get sort of caught up in it.
Hey, I like that you're passionate about it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and